Hi friends, I am chilling on our patio right now. We are in the Lakeview studio at Bay Lake Tower. This is sadly our last day here, but it's been a good day so far. We did everything we wanted at Magic Kingdom this morning, so we were able to go back onto Haunted Mansion, and we did Mickey's PhilharMagic for the first time in quite a while. Honestly, the technology is a little dated, but the scenes are still really fun. The songs are classics, like that's a good time and definitely a good way to get some air conditioning. We also did Seven Dwarfs Mine Train one last time. We were able to see the Mickey and Friends Cavalcade, which is great because who doesn't love, come on everybody, put your ears on. It's a good time. So yeah, that was super cute. And then, gosh, finally we were able to see some princesses. So I've had pretty bad luck with this. I was hoping to see a lot of them over in Epcot, but they sort of just like come out in their area, and it's very weather permitting, and the weather when we've been at Epcot has not been great. We've been caught in a bunch of storms. So I did see Jasmine over there, but pretty much no one else. And the cavalcade at Magic Kingdom with the princesses, at least when I've been here, has been later in the day, and we mostly do Magic Kingdom in the morning, so that hasn't really worked out with our schedule. But yeah, I was finally able to see princesses up on the train station. The first round was like, I think the proper princess round, and it had most of them, including Merida, who I was so happy to see. And yeah, like a lot of popular favorites, as well as the Fairy Godmother, which felt a little strange to me, but whatever. And then as we were leaving, a new round was just starting, and it wasn't necessarily princesses. It had like Peter Pan and Gaston and Mary Poppins, but Moana was there too. I don't know why she doesn't get to go on the princess one, but it was awesome to see Moana because the only other time we've seen her was at the Very Merry Christmas party years ago. I think we did that in 2017, and it was very expensive, and the line to meet her was like 2 hours long. So I'm so glad we finally got to see some princesses. It definitely isn't the same as like proper meet and greets, but at least I got something, so that was awesome. And then our room was ready around noon. We came back and just dropped off some stuff real quick. We headed over to lunch at Wilderness Lodge at Whispering Canyon Cafe. They have a little bit of a shtick there. The service is, I think they're like playing a part where they're supposed to be a little bit rude or whatever. I respect that they're doing their jobs, but I just hate the shtick. Like we've never done 50s prime time properly, like sit down. We just go to Tune In Lounge because I just don't like the shtick. It makes me kind of uncomfortable as an introverted person. But anyway, the food was really good. Adam had the bison burger. He really liked it and ate it super fast. You can get sweet potato fries or regular fries as your side. Adam got the regular fries and they were great. I did not try the bison burger. I'm not much of a burger person, and I probably don't like bison, but Adam really likes it. For his birthday every year when we lived in North Carolina, and for him, you know, before I met him, him and his family went to a place and he pretty much always got bison, so that was a nice treat for him. I got the carnivore all you care to eat skillet. It had pulled pork, brisket, ribs, roasted chicken, and then corn, carrots, potatoes, and cornbread. So the pulled pork was pretty whatever. It was like pretty dry, not that great, honestly. And I did live in North Carolina for 5 years, so I'm pretty used to like high quality, great barbecue. Even in DC where we live now, there's a couple joints that are fantastic. The ribs were good, but they were small, and the sauce was doing a lot of the work. So they definitely weren't like properly smoked or anything, but it was tasty. It was pretty good. The chicken was actually really good. It was just a standard roasted chicken, I think, but they seasoned it really well and cooked it perfectly. So it was cooked through, but still juicy, tender. The skin was a little bit crispy, and like I said, it was just heavily herbed, which was really nice. And then the brisket was tasty. It was sliced really thin, and I think I got some pretty fatty pieces and some pieces that were less fatty. The less fatty ones I thought were better, but it was well seasoned, and especially like the crispy edges, like the burnt ends almost, were great. The carrots were whatever. I think they were just roasted. It was very much just a carrot. The corn was good, but it's corn. I mean, it tasted like the microwave corn you get from the freezer section, but I like that corn, so no complaints there. And then the little potatoes were super tasty, especially some of them had been sitting in the meat juice, so they got some extra fat flavor, I think. And then it is all you care to eat, so you can get as much as you want. I didn't want an entire second skillet, so I just asked for like a rib and a piece of brisket, and they brought out 2 ribs and a couple pieces of brisket, and that was super good. So it was nice to get a little bit more food if you wanted a little bit more. If you want a lot more, you can get a lot more. The cornbread was fine. Like the cornbread itself was very standard, a little bit dry, but it came with some tasty butter. It might have had a honey drizzle on top, and once you buttered it, it was actually pretty delicious. So it was kind of a lot of food. I think my skillet was $24, and then Adam's bison burger was $19. I also got a Coke, and then we used our Disney Visa Rewards credit card, which has 10% off So after the 10% off and tax and tip, we spent $55 for lunch. So about $30 a person. For the amount and quality of food, I'm pretty happy with that. We were contemplating canceling that reservation and perhaps just going out to Disney Springs and getting something a little bit cheaper instead, but it was really tasty and I'm glad we kept the reservation. Also, the restaurant, while the tables are a little bit close together, at least while we were there, like no one was near us. They were definitely spacing parties out among the tables, so that was nice. Yesterday, we overheard a bartender telling another guest that things are, for the most part, being booked at 50% capacity. So like Ohana used to be 1,400 tables, now they're doing 700. And I think that might just be true across the board because for the most part, when we dined, there is space available. Like even if there are a lot of tables, there aren't necessarily a lot of patrons. And I think that's intentional, presumably for staffing reasons, but I'm sure that they are trying to scale that up as we get closer and closer to the 50th and the holidays and like more crowds start coming in. It's still pretty light crowds right now. After lunch, we came back to the hotel and showered, relaxed, changed. I walked the grounds a little bit. The Contemporary is very under construction right now, so that's a little bit jarring, but there's still some really nice pieces to it for sure. And soon we'll be heading out to Epcot to meet up with friends, and that will be our last Disney thing, I think. So trying to say goodbye to everyone and wave goodbye to our favorite place. Tomorrow morning, we're basically just gonna wake up, pack, and head out to the airport. So it's a little bit bittersweet. We are very excited to see our dog though. It's been 2 weeks basically, so it'll be nice to see her again. And while I'm not looking forward to going back to work by any means, I am looking forward to sleeping in my own bed. So I'll try to check in later after we're done at Epcot, but so far an excellent last day.
And so, friends, our journey comes to an end.
That was very dramatic.
It was. We spent the rest of our day at Epcot with some friends. We ate and drank around the world. I'm not going to attempt to name everything right now. I'm sure we'll have a recap video of like everything we ate and drank, and we'll rank some things. It'll be fantastic. But we did get the grilled cheese at Greece, which was one of my sort of must-dos. And it was phenomenal, and if you like cheese, I highly suggest it.
Yeah, it was very tasty.
So
And it was also, just disclaimer, hot and fresh.
oh yeah, we like waited a few minutes to get it super fresh, and so maybe that helped, but also just in general, it was really good. And we went back to Morocco, which I think is a sleeper hit. I think people are a little bit afraid of it because spices or whatever, but like it was so good. And our friend got the pistachio cake and she shared with us. And that was like not that sweet, but it was fantastic. Like if you don't love overly sweet desserts, the pistachio cake there is phenomenal. Also, India booth, we had the korma curry, the madras curry, the sparkling wine, and the Chenin Blanc in 2 different trips to the booth. But it was all really good. The madras curry was the only thing we had that I think was like genuinely a little bit actually spicy.
Yeah, no, it definitely had it was the hottest thing we probably had at Disney.
Yeah,
easily.
everything else.
We've had a lot of things, and a lot of things had the word spicy.
Yeah, they're like labeled spicy, but they are not.
Actually, is the only spicy.
But this actually was like kind of spicy, which was nice.
It's fitting.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't that spicy, all things considered. But if you are a spice folk, definitely don't get it.
Yeah, and the korma. So we have a couple local Indian places we like back home a lot. One of them has a killer korma. The korma at the Indian booth at Epcot wasn't quite that good, but it was like pretty close. Honestly, it was really tasty, and it was only $5.25 and came with like quite a lot of chicken, and there were some crispy chickpeas. So basically, if you like cashew flavor and chicken, and I mean the chickpeas don't even taste like anything, they just provide crunch, and then rice, you're gonna like the korma. So I would say don't shy away from the India booth. Pretty much everything was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of mix up the curry and the chicken and rice, and it was a lot of good bites.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, yeah, pretty much our day at Epcot was just eating and drinking. We did ride Frozen Ever After one more time, which as always is amazing and so fun and fantastic. Oh, we also did do single rider for Test Track before the bad weather came in.
Fortunately.
Yeah, so that was nice. It seems like we haven't been able to go to Epcot this trip without getting downpoured on, but such is Disney in September, so there you go.
Yeah, and I think the fact is that it opens at 11, so you can't get that morning time in the park before, the
Rain
afternoons,
hits, yeah.
the tropical afternoon, yeah, exactly.
Anywhere between like 1:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. it's gonna storm, so that's your prime Epcot time, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a super fun last day overall and last part of our day. We closed down the park at Epcot. We actually watched all of Epcot Forever for the first time. I think we've seen all of it in bits and pieces, but we just stood there and watched it. We took the monorail home. We took the monorail to the TTC and then transferred over to the other line to get back to Bay Lake Tower. And yeah, we've just been packing up and we showered and now we're gonna go to sleep. And when we wake up, we're just gonna pack a little bit more and then head off to the airport. So this is kind of the end of our Disney trip. I am sad. It's sad for any vacation to end. I mean, no one really wants to go back to work if we're being honest. But, it's been an awesome 2 weeks, 2 full weeks, a week and a half at Disney. We've gotten to stay at some wonderful Disney Vacation Club properties. We've hit up all of the parks multiple times. I think we did most everything we wanted. We didn't make it out to Disney Springs hardly at all. Honestly, when you're staying at Magic Kingdom, it's kind of far.
Yeah, it's not that convenient. I think it's really great if you're like in the one of the DVC resorts by Disney Springs or staying off property, then you're probably out by Disney Springs, and that's really easy. But when you're like in the monorail loop, you just don't want to leave.
Yeah. So, we didn't hit up Chicken Guy or Deluxe Burger or Morimoto Asia, and there's a lot of, or Polite Pig, there's a lot of amazing places out there.
Right.
We didn't end up doing that. That's fine. It'll be here when we come back. So, such as like, even in 2 weeks, you can't do everything. I think that's the big lesson to tell everyone. But yeah, we did our 10-day park ticket. We did our many resort stays. It's been an awesome time. I'm excited to see our pupper. And, I'm not excited to leave, but it is what it is, and we have to go back to real life. We'll be back sometime in the next 1.5 to 2.5 years. That is, if a couple of my key friends don't bully me into coming sooner, which is the plan. We're trying to keep to the every other year situation, but hopefully we'll be in Disneyland and perhaps Disneyland Paris in the next year or so. So we'll still have our Disney fix for sure.
Yeah, all in all, it was a great trip, and really happy that Jacqueline was able to document it all through these little vlogs. I think it's going to make looking back on this experience all the sweeter.
I hope so. So yeah, thank you so much for following along. Like I said, we will have follow-up videos when we're at home that aren't necessarily vlogs, but we'll talk more in depth about what we did. I took really detailed notes, so we can refer back to those. I just, every time we're vlogging, we're pretty much tired. In the parks, there's usually like copyrighted music playing, and I'm so paranoid about that, which is basically why we haven't been vlogging in the parks much. But yeah, so there'll be more content coming based on this trip for sure, and then there'll be stuff to look forward to in the future with Disneyland and hopefully Disneyland Paris in the next year or so. In the meantime, thank you so much to everyone who did leave a like on this video. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, I hope you subscribe to the channel. It's totally free to you. And then once you subscribe, you can ring the bell icon and then you'll receive notifications whenever we post new videos. And like I said, there's plenty more coming. So yeah, I mean, the end of a trip is always a little bit sad. I'm sure we'll have the Disney blues, but we have our doggo to get back to. We have our dumb jobs to get back to. And I've got about 1 million pounds of laundry to do. So I'm sure we'll be very distracted and busy for the next while. But yeah, if you want to chat about anything Disney, if you have any questions about our trip, if you want recommendations about anything, definitely leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to help out. And if you want to talk outside of YouTube, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at PixieDustPhD. Otherwise, we hope your day is super magical and feels more magical than the last day of a trip, which is kind of full of dread. But yeah, I'm sure it's going great for you. And we will see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.
Bye.
Bye.
The next day.
It's actually our last morning now. We've packed everything up in the room. Just waving goodbye to Bay Lake. Goodbye, vacation. We'll be back home, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. Bittersweet for sure, but it was nice to be here. Boat. All right, off to the airport we go.
Hello, giant truck.
Blocking my view. Driving away from Bay Lake Tower and then Contemporary. Such sad. One last look at the monorail. Through the trees. Monorail Peach! We're like best friends with Monorail Peach, that's true. Hi! Hi, 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 hi. Welcome. Oh my gosh! Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 it's been so long. I missed you so much. Got our doggo back. So flight went smooth, pretty easy peasy. That's the easy part. Now we're driving back from Carolina to DC. And once we get there, vacation will officially be over. And then we have to look at the credit card bill.
Yuck.
Yay! It's about 6:30 now on Saturday and we are finally home! So we still have to unload. Adam's taking our doggo out to do her stuff now. The drive wasn't bad. The drive down on that Friday before Labor Day was kind of horrendous. We were in like bumper to bumper traffic for an hour. The drive back up today there were a couple small patches, but for the most part it was fine. It took us probably a little over 5 hours, but we did stop twice. So it's probably only a 4.5 hour drive, which is kind of ideal. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of our journey. I have to do a metric ton of laundry now, and I have so much footage to edit and upload. I'm really excited. I know these are the end of the traditional vlogs, but there will be a lot more content about our trip coming after I go through and make lists of everything. Adam and I can rank things, compare and contrast, all of that great stuff. So thanks so much for coming along on the journey. There is more to come, and we will also get back into some more informational stuff pertaining to Disney Vacation Club and Walt Disney World. We're also hoping to go to Disneyland here early next year, hopefully, so there may be some content about that coming as well. Thank you again. I really appreciate you all. We'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.